สวัสดีค่ะ The United States and Hong Kong this year tied for first place in the 2011 Annual Report on Competitiveness conducted by the World Competitiveness Center in Switzerland. Thailand ranks 27th out of 59 countries being conducted in the survey. Dr. Suzanne Rosselet will tell us how the analysis is done and what can Thailand improve on. How do you measure competitiveness of countries?
Well, competitiveness is a very elusive concept. It's a very vague definition. In fact, there's really no common definition of competitiveness, which of course makes it very difficult to actually assess what we mean by the competitiveness performance of a country. But at IMD, what we're really looking at is the long-term prosperity gains to a nation. Are populations' living standards increasing? Are they improving? Are people's well-being moving forward in time? And when we're actually looking at competitiveness, we're dividing a national environment into 4 different dimensions. So we'll start off by looking at the economic performance of a country. How is it doing? Is it rebounding? Is it resilient to the economic crisis? Then we'll be looking at the efficiency of the government sector. Is the government delivering on its promise to the people, to industry? Then we'll look at the efficiency of the business sector. Is it entrepreneurial? Is it dynamic? Is it thriving? Or is it becoming complacent? And then lastly, we look at the state of a nation's infrastructure. And this goes from the basic infrastructure, the roads, the railroads, the ports, the logistics, but also looking at the state of technology, the levels of research and development, the health and environment of a country, and also the level of education. So actually we're combining 20 different categories of competitiveness within these 4 factors, the major 4 factors of competitiveness, and those are based on 331 indicators. Individual indicators of competitiveness that are grouped into 2 major categories. We're looking at 2/3 hard statistics, and that is actually giving the measurable outcome of competitiveness. But at the same time, we're relying on some perceptions from the business community, and that makes up the 1/3 difference. And perceptions are important because it's looking at competitiveness today, but also the hopes for the future. So it's a good balance between the hard measurable side of competitiveness and then the softer, more perceptions from the business community.
What is the result this year?
This year, Thailand is in 27th position, so down 1 rank from last year. But when we're looking at actually 59 economies, it's important to emphasize that we're talking about the 59 most competitive countries in the world. So you're really comparing yourself among the most dynamic and the most competitive in the world. So 27th position is probably maybe understating Thailand's competitiveness potential. We think it could be converging more towards an economy like Malaysia, that is in 16th position.
27th, and
yes.
Last year we were at
26th. Yes, so down 1 rank.
Down 1
yes.
rank.
Is
that really bad?
No,
yeah.
It's not statistically relevant. In fact, we always say 1 or 2 rank movements over the course of a year is not at all significant. What is important is looking at the long-term trend. And if you look back about 10 years, Thailand was ranked around 31 position. So it's slightly improving, but that ranking has been very stable over the last 10 years. And that can be good news or bad news, depending on what perspective you're looking at. It's good news in the sense that there's not a lot of volatility. If we look at a country like Malaysia, the volatility is much more significant over 10 years. So you have a lot of peaks and a lot of troughs. And this leads to a lot of uncertainty, especially if you're looking in long-term investment. So the good news for Thailand is it's stable, but it would be good to have stability at a higher level.
But I thought a couple of years ago and until today, we don't really have stability in terms of politics.
Not necessarily in politics, because you do have some volatility in the political side. But again, we're not looking at just the political environment. We're looking at the state of the infrastructure. We're looking at the dynamism of the business community, and that has been slowly but surely making competitive gains. And we're talking here. Really, an economy is a balance sheet. So you have your competencies and your assets, and then of course you have some weak areas, and those are the liabilities. And a competitive strategy is going to be looking at, okay, how do we maintain and leverage those strengths? And at the same time, we target some of those weaker areas for improvement. And so if you're looking at the breakdown of competitiveness for Thailand, you see a lot of diversity. And this is where, again, that long-term trend is steady overall, but you'll see a lot more diversity in the individual characteristics.
But where did we get it wrong that we drop our ranking by one rank?
Where there might be some gaps in competitiveness is more in the infrastructure side, where there's some deficits. In infrastructure, Thailand is ranked in 47th position. So it's alongside, it's aligned with the competitiveness infrastructure of the Philippines and Indonesia, but it's far removed from the competitiveness infrastructure of Singapore, Malaysia, even China. It's in fact lagging behind China now. So China has made incredible progress in its infrastructure, and that's technological, innovation, and also in basic infrastructure. Now, even if you start digging a little deeper into the statistics, we can start separating even in those rankings. Thailand is doing quite well in its basic infrastructure. So the logistics, the roads, the highways, the railroads, that is doing quite well, and in fact is often used as a model for Indonesia and Philippines to try to move towards convergence. However, there are more gaps, especially on the technological side. There's a big technological gap, even with a country like the Philippines. The Philippines is about 20 ranks above Thailand as far as the technological infrastructure. There's problems of lack of connectivity, not sufficient ICT networks, a problem of being a little bit behind the curve as far as technology goes.